In order to set up the development environment using VS Code, the first thing that we need to do is download VS Code from its website, and then we need to set up VS Code along with Python. Before we do anything, we have to make sure that Python is installed in our system. Then what we can do, we can go to Google and search for download VS Code, press enter. So the first URL that would be coming is code.visualstudio.com download. So if I click over here, we can see multiple options are provided for downloading Visual Studio Code. There is option for Windows, Linux and Mac. In my case, I would be using Windows, so I can click on this particular icon. Now, at the bottom you can see there are multiple variations: user installer, system installer, zip also. In this case, I will click this and by default it would download user installer. So let me click over here. Now the download is started, and I can see the download is finished. You can see this particular file VS Code user setup -x64 -1.71.2.exe. At the time of recording, this is the version. It may change from time to time. Let me double click here. It's showing a warning message. The user installer is not meant to be run as an administrator. Anyways, I am not running as an administrator. If you would like to install VS Code for all users in this system, download the system installer instead of this one. So we have the user installer and we are going to proceed with this one. Are you sure you want to continue? Click OK. Click I accept the agreement. Next. Now here by default VS Code is showing a location where it is going to install this Microsoft VS Code. So let me provide a particular folder name. There it should get installed. So I'm changing the path. Now this would be the folder where it would be installed. Click on next. Next again. Here I would select this icon. I want a desktop icon. I'm unchecking this register code as an editor for the supported file types. Like every time if there is any Python file, if I open that, it would open in VS Code. That I don't want. In your case, if you want that if there is any Python file and you open it by default, it would open in VS Code, you can keep it checked. The last option is add to path. I would keep it checked. Click on next. Click on install. Now this would take few seconds. Once it is done, I would resume the video. Now the installation is complete. I'm unchecking this because if I keep it checked and click on finish, it would open from here, but I want to open from the desktop icon. Click on finish, go to desktop. Let me double click this Visual Studio Code icon. By default, this would be the UI that we would get. Let me change the theme. I am not very comfortable with this dark one. So go to File, Preferences, Color Theme. Now here there are multiple options. For my convenience, I am going to use this light Visual Studio. In your case, you can keep the same or you can change as I am changing right now. Select here. So this is the theme that I am using. So once we open the VS Code, the important thing that we need to do is get the extensions related to Python. So on the left hand side, you can see there are multiple options like Explorer, Search, Source Control, Run and debug, and finally this extensions. This is very critical part. If I click over here, it would by default show multiple extensions. Now the most important one for Python is this particular extension. It can come at the top, or what you can do in case if it is elsewhere, you can just type Python. Let me install this Python extension. I can click on install from here or from here. Let me click this, and it won't take much time to get installed. So the Python extension is set up. Now what we can do, we can open a particular folder. That would be my project directory. So I have already created a folder. So go to File, Open Folder. I'm selecting the folder where I want to create my project. So this is the folder I want to select. Click on Select Folder. Now this particular folder, I can use it as my project directory. Here you can see multiple options. So what I can do, I can select this particular option, or I can go from here, File, and select New File. So anyways, let me use this particular icon. Python file name is given. Press enter. Let me type a simple print. Once the code is written, how to run this particular code. Now there are multiple options. Here at the top right, we can run the Python file, or we can right click and there is the option run Python file in terminal, and also we can select the file from here. We can right click. Similar way, run Python file in terminal. If I run this, the terminal opens and we get the print hello VS Code. So this is the basic setup, right? But generally, whenever we work on a particular project, ideally what we do, we set up a virtual environment. Now, what is virtual environment? So, as per the Python website documentation, a virtual environment is a Python environment such that the Python interpreter, libraries and scripts installed into it are isolated from those installed in other virtual environments, and by default any libraries installed in a system Python. It's basically a Python environment where all the dependencies are installed. Suppose I have multiple projects, and in different projects I need different type of libraries. So virtual environment gives us a way so that the interpreter, the libraries and script are separately installed into separate virtual environments so that there is no cross connection. Now, in order to create virtual environments, we can use the virtual environment or VM tool. So it is a tool that creates isolated Python environments, meaning the virtual environments. These isolated environments can have separate versions of Python package, as I mentioned earlier, which allows you to isolate one project's dependencies from the dependencies of the other project. So that is the way. So whatever we have done in VS Code, we can run the Python file. That is fine, but that is not the standard way to work. Ideally, we should create a virtual environment and use that. So let me go back to VS Code. Let me clear out this terminal, and I would run a command to create virtual environment. Now this is the command python -m venv env. Env is my virtual environment name. I can give any name like test or whatever. Press enter. So the virtual environment is created. If you see here, VS Code is already giving a message. We noticed a new virtual environment has been created. Do you want to select it for the workspace folder? Right now, I would say no. I would manually select it. Now, once this virtual environment is getting created, I need to activate it. But before that, I want to show you the structure. Now let me show you this particular environment folder. It has the include directory, lib and the script. Under script, we have a script called activate, which can activate the virtual Python environment. Now let me run that particular script. Now this should be the command. Inside env folder, inside scripts, this activate. This is the script that is going to run over here. Press enter. Now my virtual environment is activated. When we ran this test.py earlier, the default Python interpreter that was in the system that we were using, but this time we have created the virtual environment and we want to use the interpreter within that virtual environment. So in order to customize the interpreter, what we can do, we can go to view, command palette and select this one, or we can type Ctrl+Shift+P and we can select the Python interpreter. Like we can type Python interpreter. So here if you see at the bottom we are having this particular option. We can click over here. Now here what we can do, we can use this one, which is already the Python that is installed in our system under this all software folder, or we can use this existing one which is already created inside my environment variable. Now if this option shows, that is fine, or we can give the interpreter path from here. So it would be the same path, env scripts python.exe. Anyways, let me use this option. Browse. Now it is coming here, scripts python.exe. Select interpret. Now let me run this program again. Run Python file in terminal. So you can see over here the Python interpreter that is used is this one, that is environment scripts python.exe, and this is the final print. So what we have done here, we have downloaded VS Code from the VS Code's website. We have installed VS Code. We have installed the Python extension in VS Code. We have created virtual environment, and from that virtual environment, using that specific interpreter, we have run a sample Python file. So this is the beginning of using Python in VS Code. I have planned to create multiple other videos which are pretty useful and handy. If you really like the videos and if you want to get updated videos, I would suggest you to please like and subscribe to this channel so that whenever there are useful videos uploaded, you are notified and you can learn from them. That is all. Thank you.